Okay, so why first we need Cisco Unity Connection? What is the use of Cisco Unity Connection in terms of phone integration, phone system integration? So it is essential because it enables communication between Cisco Unity Connection and phone systems and provide users with various features like CMI. Yeah. Okay, so some of the features are like forwarding the messages. For example, if you call a user and he's busy, or he has forward the calls to any particular server, that is any CUC cases, the CUC itself, then the person can receive a message. So if it's, let's say, an urgent message or that you want to leave or a call back or something. So for different purposes, we can use voicemail. Yeah. So the calls to a user greeting, if not answered, are forwarded to personal greeting. So these are some terms used for these greetings are there. That is personal greeting. We have a busy greeting. If a person is busy, if a phone is busy, you can leave a voicemail for that. That is busy greeting. To access these messages received by that user, it is using the Cisco Unity connection. It is an easier method by just pressing a messages button that will direct it to the CUC, Cisco Unity connection. So easy access to messages by pressing a button on the phone and entering a password. Then Cisco Unity connection receives caller ID information. So it tells you that the message is received from which caller, which user, extension and name. Messages are left for a user, activate the message waiting indicator. So there is a notification that you can see by a message waiting indicator. So if you're using, for example, a Jabber soft phone, you will see a message icon there, right? If it's a physical phone, then you will see a red light turned on if a voicemail is received, right? So that gives you an indication that a voicemail has been received. Then CUC integration and its use cases. It can be integrated with various servers for different services for different purpose. For example, with LDAP to import the user information, with CUCM to get the call processing information, right? With IMN presence for presence information. So Cisco Unity connection, it can be integrated to import user database from CUCM. So you can integrate your Unity connection with CUCM. So your user database can be synchronized. And to do that, the protocols used are AXL and SOAP. AXL is administrative XML layer and SOAP is simple object access protocol. These are the two protocols which are used for integration between CUC, Unity connection, and CUCM, your communication manager. Then it can be integrated with Microsoft Exchange Server or Office 365. The purpose to integrate it with Office 365 or Exchange Server is to deliver unified messages feature providing a single storage area for different types of messages, for example, voicemails and emails, right? That we can access from different devices. Then it can be integrated with Exchange Web Services. It allows to import calendar information. So like when you're using Jabber, you can see that at that particular time you have a meeting, right? So on the Jabber client, you will not automatically get any information of any meetings which are already scheduled. You have to integrate it with a web server, right? Exchange web server. So from the Exchange web server, from your Outlook, if you have any meetings on your Outlook, so at that particular time, it will show you in your Jabber client, in your voicemail client that you have a meeting at that time, right? So to import calendar information from Exchange and Office 365 for personal transfer roles. Access to calendars allows the users to do meeting related tasks by phone. You can join the call from your phone itself if you have integrated it with the Exchange server, right? You can hear a list of upcoming meetings and accept or decline meeting invitations from the end device. Next, we can also integrate Cisco Unity connection with Active Directory for user directory, usernames, passwords of the users. Yeah. And to do that, the protocol used for this integration is LDAP, lightweight lightweight directory access protocol, to synchronize CUC usernames and passwords with the AD. It also provides telephone user interface and voice user interface through the end devices. By using an IP phone or visual voicemail, users can view, listen, compose, forward, delete, and respond to the voice messages. Now, this picture shows you what are the different services and the servers that can be integrated with the Cisco Unity connection. So we have a Cisco Unity connection here. We can integrate it with Active Directory using LDAP, right? To import this Cisco Unity connection usernames, passwords. You can integrate it with CUCM for various purposes, for call processing and user information from CUCM using the AXL and SOAP service. Then calendaring information using Exchange Web Server using web services, and also Exchange Web and Office 365 for single inbox using web services. It can be integrated with mail client to receive any and send mails using IMAP. Right? It can be integrated with end devices, that can be telephony user interface or visual voicemail. It can be integrated with Jabber as a client using IMAP. Right? So these are different services and servers that can be integrated with CUC for different purposes to enhance its features, to provide more functions to it. Right? The CUC integrates messaging and voice recognition components to provide global access to calls and voice messages. Unity Connection Advanced Communication Services also offer voice commands to place calls. It is like Alexa or Siri. So in advanced devices, many Cisco Unity Connection devices, it also allows you voice commands. So you can use voice commands to place a call or listen to a message in hands-free mode. Okay? This is some advanced feature of that. It runs on a Linux-based network appliance and it has its own integrated messages and data store. So the voicemail, the voice messages that are received on the Unity connection, it stores it in its database. It has a message store where it stores these messages. Right? It is Linux based, so you have to install it on an ESXi host, or you can install it in a server, and you can access it through the graphical user interface using web browsers. Right? So in the web browser, we just put the IP address of the Unity connection, and you can access its graphical user interface like we do for CUCM. CUC integrates with CUCM and CUCME, your Cisco Unified Communication Manager and Manager Express, using SCCP, Skinny Client Control Protocol, or SIP. These are the two protocols that can be used to integrate with CUCM or CUCME, SIP and SCCP. So here we see an overview of Cisco Unity Connection integration. So to integrate Cisco Unity Connection with a CUCM using SCCP, or it can be integrated using SIP. For other vendor clusters other than Cisco, it can use SIP, PIMG, or TIMG as a protocol. So for non-Cisco cluster and circuit switched phone systems, you can use SIP, PIMG, or TIMG. For Cisco cluster, you can use SCCP or SIP, and for open standard, you can use SIP. Right? Cisco Unity Connection has these two main components, its message store and directory. And next, let's see about SIP integration. Now, this is important to know from configuration standpoint. So these are the things that are required, or the basic requirements to do the integration. So CUC to CUCM integration here we are talking about. So let's say this is your CUC and this is your CUCM. When you have to integrate CUCM with CUC, Unity Connection, these are some basic requirements to be done. So on CUCM, we have to configure a voicemail profile, voicemail pilot, route pattern, and SIP trunk. These are the four things, right? The configuration is done in this order, right? And
I know the route pattern, but what's the
voicemail pilot? You have to create a number through which you integrate it with the CUCM, and that number will direct towards the CUC. So it's like you're giving a DN number to reach to CUC. Okay. Same way on CUC, we have to do configuration in this order, and the configuration are, you have to configure a phone system. You have to define what is your CUCM. You have to configure port groups, and ports. That how many voicemail ports you want to allow at one time, right? So these are the configurations done at Unity connection end. So these are the two sides, CUCM, you have to configure CUCM with these and Unity connection with these functions. So the voicemail pilot and route pattern are used to call the voice messaging system. This is the answer to your question. So the voicemail pilot and the route pattern, these in the combination, these two are used to call the voice messaging system. So it's like a number you are creating, for example, 18100. You have created this number. This number is a CUC voicemail number. So to call CUC, to connect from CUCM to CUC, you will use this as the number. And route pattern is like the routing. It is providing you the path, right? And pilot is the number. And this is telling you how to reach to that number, right? So these are in two things in which in combination allows you to call the voice messaging system, that is Unity connection. No explicit MWI numbers are required. MWI stands for message waiting indicator. So for the end devices to be able to see if any message is received, you have to enable message waiting indicator. But in case of SIP integration, you do not need to configure it on CUCM. Whereas if when you do SCCP integration, you have to configure MWI numbers. So for message waiting also, let's say you have a phone here and it has received a voicemail. So what will happen? It will receive a voicemail icon here, a message notification, right? Also on the phones, it turns a red light. So you see that a notification is there. And on the screen, if it's a video capable phone, on the screen also you can see a message icon, right? So this is just for notification, message waiting indicator. To enable that, we have to give a message waiting indicator number, right? So on CUC, we also have to create a message waiting indicator number. So let's say for message waiting indicator, I give a number 18101 and 18102. Two numbers are given, on and off, both. So not just one MWI. Message waiting indicator has two components, on and off. So to sometimes if you just enable on MWI, so you will get a notification, but you will not be able to turn it off once you have seen the message, once you have retrieved the message, it will still remain on the phone. So that's why it is important to configure two MWIs, on and off. Okay, but that is mandatory in the case of SCCP, not in the SIP. In SIP integration, no explicit MWIs are configured. And on CUCM, no configuration. But in SCCP, on both the ends, you have to do MWI configuration. In SIP integration, it is also required for video greetings. For video greetings, it is a must. SCCP does not support video greetings. SIP supports video greetings. So when you have a video message to be sent, right, as a voicemail, then in that case, SIP is the must. SCCP won't work at that point. SCCP integration uses port number 5060 for regular communication with the CUCM, and for secure communication, the port number used is 5061. This is important for exam perspective. It is asked in the exam sometimes. So the SIP port number is 5060 and 5061. 5060 is for unsecure regular communication. 5061 is secure communication. So what happens is once we have done this integration configuration on CUCM and CUC, all these steps are configured. After that, what happens is a user can press a messages button if whenever he receives a voicemail, or if he wants to connect to the voicemail to see if there are any messages left. So just press the messages button on the IP phone and the CUCM takes that number that is configured in the voicemail pilot. So here is the role of voicemail pilot number. It routes it to the CUC. So a user, for example, you have a CUCM here. A user is sitting here in this network. This is a switch here. Yeah, multiple users are here. This user, and let's say we have a switch here and we have a CUC, Unity connection, right? This user wants to communicate to the CUC, which is registered on CUCM, right? So what it does is it just simply press the messages button Once it press the messages button, it will call the Cisco Unity connection. It is not directly connected or it does not know the route to Cisco Unity connection. So this request will go to the CUCM. Now the CUCM has a voicemail pilot, which is the number for your Unity connection. So as you press messages button here, that means you're trying to dial to your Unity connection server in the network. CUCM will say, okay, you want to reach to the Unity connection. It will check its pilot number, which directs to Unity connection. And then using the route pattern configured for that, which is the route for that, it will send this message to the Unity connection. Okay. So this is how this configuration will work. Then, and so in this, you just press messages button and it takes the number that is configured in voicemail pilot, for example, this, and searches for a route pattern that has a number. CUCM then reaches the Unity connection using SIP trunk. Now, we have talked about this configuration on CUCM and you configure this. On CUC, you configure this. In the last, we have SIP trunk. This SIP trunk basically connects the CUCM with CUC. Right? So this is important to make a communication between these two clusters, a CUCM and a Unity connection. On CUC side, the ports are configured to register with SIP server. So if you see it here, the ports are configured to register to the SIP trunk or SIP server, that is CUCM. The number of ports specified in Unity connection system only and defines the number of sessions. So what we are talking about the ports here, it basically means how many sessions you want to be active at once. So we discussed in Unity connection how many sessions are by default enabled, 250. Right? But from that, you do not want to open all 250 ports at once. So you can use, let's say, just 4 I want. So I can use port 4 ports. That's it. So 4 simultaneous sessions will be allowed. Right? So this port numbers defines how many sessions you want to allow. Okay. SIP integration uses port number 5060 standard SIP port and 5061 to secure communication between IP phone and Unity connection. So whenever an IP phone presses the message button to call the Unity connection, so two types of integration are possible for that, 5060 and for secure 5061. To use video greetings, you must use SIP. So as I said that SIP or SCCP integration can be done, but SIP is used for video greetings.